Matt is going to be doing.
Morning, Matt.
Good morning.
So this is the prelude. We're singing it through, we're singing, this might be hard to read. I've been using the hymnal, but basically we're singing 1, 2, 3, 1. So we're repeating the first verse.
That's what Michelle mentioned.
Right? Harmony as you can do it, we're being very, very loose. So 1, 3, about to arrive. Okay, oh, so it's funny. So the way they arranged this, you sing 1, and then you flip 2, and then you flip 3, flip for 3, and then it continues to sing for 4. So it is 1, 2, 3.
1, 2.
So 1,
Testing 1, 2, 3. Check. We're good.
yeah, you can bring it on the harmony. And we're singing the song, so it's okay. Right. Let it be, we're singing it.
Tuesday morning.
Basically, you gotta give your brain, and then fire and rain, he's gonna sing, we're just singing the chorus.
Well, actually, no. I'm pretty at home in Kenmore. And whereas I don't really have a chorus. I'm couch surfing at various places. So that's a lot.
Okay, and then.
Which reminds me,
No. So then, when he gets, oh yeah, chorus next year. And then, when he does his third verse, it comes, we start in here, and go back to the bass and the octave. To DS.
And then we'll start playing. Okay. Get settled.
Uh-huh. Hi, Karen.
I brought you 5 reading cards,
Oh, thank you.
and just to decide one.
Oh,
The only problem is that they
yeah, they have
have
the psalm.
from the New Testament.
Uh-huh.
If you read the Psalm in the Old Testament, then you know what this is really about. Anyway,
Thank you.
Good morning.
good morning. And
Where did these come from?
it's the library.
Oh, these are cool. Oh,
Hi, Rocky.
Morning. How's it going?
Good. I think I've received my marching orders.
Uh-huh.
And this is going to jump around.
not the story. Yeah, I get it.
Okay, good. Thank you for confirming that. Oh, I was going to cut out that growth on the Hope Street side there, but I'm not sure I'm doing the right one. It's changed so much. I just need to get somebody to reaffirm. Yeah, that's the one. I'll take it out because it's changed so much. It's cut it all the way back. So I guess that would be Russ.
Oh, are you gonna sing the one? It's very.
I don't have
So I would just go and I'll introduce you to here.
took out previously, so.
Okay, but it was massive. It was small tree.
Well, I would say anything close to the building is,
Hey, Kirsten.
Demolishable.
This is Grace.
Okay.
or
She is. Oh, sorry.
Wait, let
Sorry.
Karen finish.
All right.
Roving up, are we?
Yeah, I don't know where they went.
This is an official act.
Hiya.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Dan Tinen, and I'm a lay reader in this church. I used to be on the board and the property committee and things like that. I spend more than half the year out on the West Coast now in the Seattle area to help with my grandchildren. The main reason for moving anywhere at my age. And we're grateful to have all of you here with us, whether you're online or here in person. If this is your first visit here, welcome. Sign our guest book and let us know if you want to hear about other things that are happening here. And we're proud to be a welcoming congregation. If people who are leaders of All Souls, if you want to talk to them at coffee hour, the coffee is brewing back in the minister's study. You can also find, we've got information all over the place in your pews and that sort of thing, right? I've been a member of this church since 1998, so it's great to be back and see so many people here, and people I know, and people I sang in the choir with. Will you please look in the four directions and just give good vibes to the people around you, that everyone feels welcome? And you people on Zoom, where's the camera? Okay. Camera there, camera there. Yeah, okay. I have a little special thing here, a second. Hello. We're gathered here to join in the journey. Our journey contains both sorrow and gladness, joy and tribulation, peaceful times and times of discontent. These walls have seen hundreds of years of this kind of gathering. We share with all our ancestors the drive to find deeper meaning in what is and greater hope in what can be, no matter how dark the glass we may be looking through at the moment. So now, I invite everyone to breathe. Breathe deeply. Come into this sanctuary. Be present. Be focused. Be at peace. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment, until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and seek communion. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope is hallowed by our presence together. Let us take this time for quiet reflection as we listen to our wonderful musicians play the prelude.
However you guys feel comfortable. Yeah, I think you're good. All right, I'll give you a cue as we come in. He loves my guitar. All right.
Kate, would you like to be the candle lighter today? Will you please join with me with the chalice reading that's in your order of service? May the light of this flame illuminate our minds. May the heat of this flame warm our hearts. May the focus of this flame bind us together in one loving community. And I invite the choir to come.
Kind of got tangerine. Thanks, son. That's a good bear. May I have some? You want me to use the whole thing? You want to? You want to split that apple?
No rest for the musical.
Yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone.
this congregation has cooperatively written a covenant, an agreement under which we gather together. And it is printed in your order of service, and we like to recite it at these services to remind us of what we're here for. Will you please join me in our congregational covenant? In this house, we covenant with one another to listen respectfully with an open mind and value our diversity as a source of our communal strength, to learn together and grow together, generously sharing our time, talents, and treasures, to celebrate the joys of discovery, embracing the fullest measure of our humanity, from the wonder of youth to the wisdom of age, to openly share our laughter and tears, showing reverence for all that time and all it is. This is the time we ask for your contributions to this church community. If you're visiting us for the first time today, we invite you to let the plate pass you by. You're our guests today. And we have an offertory of music from Matt and the band. Fred. Brett. Greg. Sorry, Greg. That's better than Longley.
Plug in. Need the power. One, may our donations sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, this community of memory and hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream. There is a responsive reading from the Buddhist scripture I'd like us to join together in. It's in your back of your hymnal, number 597. And you'll respond in italics. Never does hatred cease by hating in return.
Only through love can hatred come to an end.
Victory breeds hatred.
The conquered dwell sorrow and resentment.
Those who give up all thought of victory or defeat,
May be calm and live happily at peace.
let us overcome violence by gentleness.
Let us overcome evil by good.
Let us overcome the miserly by liberality.
Let us overcome the liar by truth.
Now, will you please rise as you're willing and able to sing number 347, written by this congregation's friend, Jim Scott.
Thank you.
Boom chakalaka.
Boom shakalaka. I didn't get to do my normal warm-ups.
Perfectly.
One of these is gonna be,
Glad Jim's not here. He's not here, is he? No.
which channel it is, but you're thinking.
Check 1, 2, 3. We on? Eric, are we good? Check. We got me? Now? No. Now? Yes. Can you hear me now? Said the voice. I'm doing this because I just sometimes pulpits, you know. It's like, I'm here. Imagine that one Saturday morning, you're sitting at home, and the doorbell rings, and at the door are two nicely dressed people with Bibles in their hands. And you say, good morning, and they say, good morning. We have an important message for you. Unitarian Universals, and we hear you one of those. It's a tool of the devil, and you're going to hell if you don't repent. But we love you, and we don't want to see you go to hell. So please join us. Well, first you might kick yourself for not looking out the side window, see who was there before you entered the door. But if you remember your universalist theology, you might say, so you believe in a just God who prescribes infinite punishment for a finite life of sin. And you know, of course, that hell is actually a Greco-Roman concept that was unknown to Jews up until that time. You know, that's, you know, if you're being nice. And I suspect if you're in a bad mood that morning, you might well say, oh, I'm going to hell, huh? Well, see you there, and slam the door. My talk this morning is about being effective at the kind of civil persuasion that's at the heart of a democratic society. Now, those nice people at the door who have courage, how effective have they been at trying to persuade you to convert to their, whatever their particular theology is? You know, not very, right? And that's the heart of things, I might say. I get a lot, you get a lot of videos from friends, forwards from Facebook or TikTok or Instagram, you know. And what I see in those, whether they're coming from liberal or conservative, are not conducive to constructive dialogue. They're designed to motivate you to dismiss the other side entirely. You know, they're Marxist. They're a basket of deplorables. They're lazy bums. They're greedy capitalists. They're Antifa rioters. They're Klansmen. It's so much easier to shout the other side down, not to let them make their case, come up with alternative facts, and maybe take some little comment someone maybe made decades ago to disparage your opponent, instead of addressing the actual policies and ideas of the other side. Now, this came from political consultants, basically. They know that most people don't spend time on politics. They're not that interested. So they can frame everything as an existential battle, good versus evil, do or die. And that'll get the public's attention. Unitarian Universalists believe in the democratic process as part of our faith. And in this election, the democratic process itself is in danger. And this process will not work if we disparage the other side as idiots, fools, or brainwashed. For whatever reason, whether it's life experience or they've been in some particular ideological bubble, they have real concerns. They may not be able to explain or define them the way you would, but your best strategy isn't to undermine their flawed arguments and understandings, but to try to understand the heart of the matter that motivates them to do what they're doing. People are driven by so many different factors instead of a 30-second campaign commercial. There's all these different things. Exaggeration, misinformation, taking things out of context, looking at what other people do in the least charitable way. That would make a good sermon, actually. But those are the enemies of democracy. A healthy political process tries to put things into context, with each side presenting the truth as best that they can. Now, I write my sermons out in advance to avoid going off on some rant and talking off the top of my head and maybe misquote or use hearsay, bend the truth a little bit to make some point. I try to fact check, research, I read multiple sources, and I wish all our candidates for office would do the same. Now, I'm not being Pollyanna about this. I admit it isn't easy for me to look at people or ideas I deeply disagree with charitably when the temptation is to rail like an Old Testament prophet against their so-called evil. Now, we also understand politics by nature is a rough game. Elections are what we have instead of constant civil wars. We argue about things, what the society ought to do or not do, raise taxes, lower taxes, build more housing, save more land from being developed, decide what energy sources we should use, whether we should sell armaments to other countries at war. And the Constitution, as was built up in the 18th century, is based on the ideals of the Enlightenment. And those 18th century philosophers believed that the best answers to these kind of policy questions would be found by an informed electorate responsibly investigating and trying to persuade others of the best course to take. They were looking for debate, rational argument, probing for facts, learning from experience and history. That is how a democratic republic is supposed to function. But because of the internet and the way our culture has evolved, it's so much easier to say that if the other guys are elected, it's going to bring hell on earth. Both sides are basically saying that. From conservatives, you might hear that you can't be a Christian and vote for a Democrat. Liberals raise the alarm that a looming Christian nationalism will turn our country into a theocracy, sort of flying in the face of the fact that right now we're the most secular society we've ever been. Republicans will stoke fears that liberals are trying to turn our public schools into ultra-woke bisexual education camps. And when I hear it, I'm sort of wondering, gee, why did they think that would be so more effectively taught than we're doing with math and reading? But I will say, one of the things that turns me off the most is hearing each side taking cheap shots at each other. And the example I like to use is from J.D. Vance. So someone on the internet made a page purporting to be from his book, Hillbilly Elegy, and it was a page that basically involved an unnatural act with a couch. It was a lie. It was, the person who posted it said it was a lie, but it was a good joke, and so it spread. And I'd like to quote Washington Post columnist Aaron Blake. He wrote, "One of the biggest dilemmas in politics is how much to avail yourself of the dark arts. You might think that a tactic is totally wrong or underhanded, but what happens when you see your opponent getting some traction with such things? Do you emulate them even halfway in the name of leveling the playing field and defeating someone you believe is dangerous? If they tell blatant lies, do you feel justified in stretching your truth? Do you conclude that failing to stretch the truth amounts to unilaterally disarming?" And he goes on to say, "The Democratic Party has struggled with this throughout the Donald Trump era because of lies and falsehoods and conspiracy theories and epithets aplenty. And a well-known speaker once said, 'When they go low, they go high.' And another speaker said, 'You can't be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about. You can be civil, but you can't overcome what they intend to do unless you win elections.' So that's the thing we're dealing with here. The low road or the high road, victory at any price or defeat. He goes on to write, now there's no comparison between the liberties one side has taken in his political career and what the other side is doing. One side called Barack Obama the founder of ISIS, promoted all the birther nonsense, made racist comments about diverse opponents, and he accused his opponents of criminality on nonsensical and contradictory evidence. The former president would take stuff like the couch story, and instead of joking about it, he would pitch it as fact. Now, there's a cost to the political process in going down this road. History suggests that plenty of people who don't care to check the story out will come to believe that it's real. So, is this where we are as a country right now? Is it okay to lie because the other side does it too? Do we want to reduce our political debate to the terms of a middle school cafeteria? Now, Michelle Obama said this about the criticism that her "We Go High" mantra was naive. And Michelle said, going high is the only thing that works because when we go low, when we use the same tactics of degrading and dehumanizing others, we just become part of the ugly noise that's drowning out everything else. We degrade ourselves, we degrade the very causes for which we fight. I know, this congregation is not a political organization. I want to make that clear. But we get involved with politics because we're deeply concerned with social justice. We want to use the power of our Commonwealth to improve the welfare of people here and now in this world, not in some heavenly afterlife. But we have to remember we're not just liberals by and large, although conservatives are welcome. We're religious liberals. And that's what makes us different. UU ideals call us to recognize the inherent worth and dignity of every human being, even if it's somebody wearing a red MAGA hat. And we need to keep ourselves from sliding down into the muck that society has prepared for us, trying to entice us to throw away our ideals and become angry and bitter and not just disagree with, but to just despise people who disagree with us. Now, if there's a conspiracy to undermine democracy, this is the tactic they would use. Foment political hatred and turn a nation against itself. You wouldn't need to gather military forces and invade the United States. Just use social media until the democracy is so divided that it consumes itself. Speaking of democracy, we had a convention. Unitarian Universalists have an annual General Assembly, and we vote on things. And we had something called the 7 Principles. You can see them in your backs of your pews or in the hymnal. We voted by 80% to 20% to amend Article 2, which had those principles and purposes in it. And now we have the values that we stand for. And it is in the book. It is in the back. If you look at the, I was hoping we did that, and I know I forgot to do it, but yes, I'm talking about this stuff on the back. Interdependence, equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, justice, and at the center is love. And that word love is a result of our roots in the Judeo-Christian tradition. And putting that love in the center is an important focus for us as we navigate a world where it's so much easier to make people dislike, fear, and hate one another. So you can get more clicks and subscriptions based on how strident you are. Instead of doing the difficult work of trying to understand and listen, look for actual causes of grievances instead of whatever they say this grievance must be about. Now, that doesn't mean we don't push back. When we see things that are obviously wrong, denial of climate change, the growing inequality of wealth throughout the world. A country where a 14-year-old boy can bring a semi-automatic rifle to school and kill 4 people. There comes a point when you can't be agreeable and understanding anymore. And that's where we're at. I know you are. Can you win an election but lose your soul? Even if many of our fellow citizens are headed in that direction, we should not follow them. You know, about 2,000 years ago, Jewish zealots in Judea, which was occupied by the Roman Empire, they were looking for a Messiah who would take up arms and lead them in a war against Rome. And contrary to their hopes and dreams, Rabbi Jesus preached love and to turn the other cheek. Now, he wound up being tortured to death for that. The crucifixion was not the tale of a winner who came out on top. And the way the Christian theology evolved in the 1st and 2nd centuries to deal with that was to posit there are worse things than not winning in this world, as this world sees winning. Let me go back to people knocking on your door. The tactics of converting people. Now, we're not known for proselytizing. We don't go around knocking on doors, handing out, this thing on the back of the hymnal or back of the order of service. But like it or not, we are in a marketplace of ideas. Our congregations, ministers, lay readers are, to use a modern term, influencers. With our YouTube channels, our magazines, our leaders who write to newspapers, we are content creators. Thank you, ma'am, who is now creating this sermon on YouTube. We're trying to convince people to share a positive vision of the world with peace, justice, and widely held prosperity. And we're trying to use the tools of the modern era, like headset mics, to be more effective at sharing this vision. This country is in a close political race between 2 concepts of the future that are so opposite from one another that many of us think, why is this a close race? Well, that's the question to answer. Why is this close race? What underlying causes make people follow a demagogue, even when he betrays the core principles of a religion that they adhere to? What desperation about life is so deep and troubling that some Americans from both sides say they're going to leave the country if the other guy or gal wins? I'm no Pollyanna. I know how upset we are at the choices in front of us, and there's some really dark roads that this country could go through in the next few years. But I'm 70. I lived through the 60s like many of you. It was worse then. We just don't remember how it felt at the time. Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, George Wallace, Kent State, the weekly body toll coming out of Vietnam, all of this with the background of any minute a nuclear war could break out between the Soviet Union and the United States. Now, we managed to come out the other side of that, and we can again. A few weeks ago, Barack Obama made a speech with a lot of elements that were more like a sermon, because he's a good, actually, I'm going to quote him, I'm going to give you a little snippet of a speech by a lay congregationalist speaker who you might know. And I think this is important because he is really speaking here as it's really much more like a sermon. And he says it better than I did. Here we go.
I know these ideas can feel pretty naive right now. We live in a time of such confusion and rancor, with a culture that puts a premium on things that don't last. Money, fame, status, likes. We chase the approval of strangers on our phones. We build all manner of walls and fences around ourselves, and then we wonder why we feel so alone. We don't trust each other as much because we don't take the time to know each other. And in that space between us, politicians and algorithms teach us to caricature each other and troll each other and fear each other. But here's the good news, Chicago. All across America, in big cities and small towns, away from all the noise, the ties that bind us together are still there. We still coach Little League and look out for our elderly neighbors. We still feed the hungry in churches and mosques and synagogues and temples. We share the same pride when our Olympic athletes compete for the gold. Because the vast majority of us do not want to live in a country that's bitter and divided. We want something better. We want to be better. And the joy and the excitement that we're seeing around this campaign tells us we're not alone.
You know, we talk about multiculturalism and building a diverse society in a democracy. This has never been really done to this extent in history before. A few port cities maybe had this kind of diversity and democracy, but not. And it's understandable as we go through building this multicultural society that people will, have problems adjusting. I confess that as I get older, I'm actually having a problem understanding English accents the way I used to. So when I'm watching Masterpiece Theater, I have to turn on the subtitles. So some of those misgivings are legitimate, and we have to understand each other. And that Jim's hymn, Gather the Spirit, contains the line, gather in hope, compassion, and strength. This is our ingathering time of year where we come back together after summer off, but that line struck me, gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Our strength doesn't come from refusing to change our minds if new information is presented to us. Our strength doesn't come from being a bully or disparaging the humanity of other people we disagree with. Our strength comes from our willingness to understand others, to value them, their inherent worth and dignity. And our strength comes in gathering, not acting as a divided bunch of individuals squabbling over details of words and phrases and policy positions, but a group of people like this who have come together voluntarily, despite our differences. Unitarians have lots of differences, actually. Just come to a board meeting sometime. To support a community that we can all believe in, more or less. Now, between now and Inauguration Day next January, we're going to face some challenges. But we are here to help each other, share our hope, compassion, and strength. And even if things don't go the way we hope, you have sanctuary in this house of worship. What does it profiteth a society if it wins an election but loses its soul? So let's think about that as we listen to Matt and Greg play some wonderful music. Thank you. Now is the time in our service for sharing joys and sorrows. If you have a sorrow that needs the help of this community to carry it, or a joy so great that it will lift all our hearts, now is the time. You may share with the congregation. A microphone will be brought to you, or light a candle. We have candles at the side? Okay, that's good. If you're sharing with the congregation, please note this isn't a time for personal or political announcements. We care for each other by being true to the purpose of this time and care for each other by our brevity, so please be brief. And there will be opportunity after the service and people get their coffee to have longer conversations and share your announcements. A very great joy we have today is to have visitors here to All Souls. And during this time, if you feel so moved, please introduce yourself. We'd just love to have the opportunity to welcome you. It's not required. So let's welcome visitors and share joys and sorrows.
Thank you. My name is Andrew Baker, and I just want to share both a blessing and a joy for the elders in my life and surrounds. That I feel both the blessing and the joy of having elders who are in good health and can care for themselves or are well cared for. Just having helped my aunt move into assisted living recently has kind of got me reflecting on that. And Dan claiming the age of 70, making me think, wow, where has that time gone, you know? And we're all heading to that same place, but it just and just having, as I do a lot of the beginning to clean out and not leave a burden for my children, had a blessing this week of my son-in-law expressing his passion for ancient technology, which I share, and he had gotten a tape deck, and so I was able to give him a whole box of reel-to-reel tape or of cassette tapes that I've been up in my attic. So just that passing along to the next generation was fun.
Hi, I'm Ellen. So a concern from my sister-in-law, Mary Blanchette Russell, who was my former husband's older sister. And after my husband and I divided our lives, she kept me as part of the family and made sure my son and I were included in things that they did together, and that has been wonderful. She's, I guess, about 7 years older than me, and her health is failing, but she has a ton of family around her and is well cared for. But I know my son is concerned about that. And I'm 81, and my health has not been good the last couple of years since I had COVID, and I don't feel like I feel very abandoned actually by my healthcare people right now, so I'm not sure how to handle that. So that would be concern, I guess, too. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen Schaefer, and I have the great joy of having my daughter move in with me. And she is staying in my guest room, and I feel this wonderful joy of having my daughter, who is not only caring and loving, but she's a fabulous chef. And she makes the most wonderful meals. I feel like someone who lives in a mansion, and I have my own personal live-in excellent chef. And my sorrow, however, is the division that's going on in this country. I do have to say that I went and taught kindergarten in Senegal for 3 years, and I came back in 2012 to work on Elizabeth Warren's campaign and to support Obama running for his second term. And if you remember all of the controversial about Obama's fake birth certificate, etc. And I recently went back to visit Senegal. The contested election had been against someone who had written a new constitution limiting the president to 2 5-year terms. But then he claimed that wasn't valid because it wasn't passed. Or anyway, the person who won was Macky Sall, and then when his 10-year term was up, there was another position open, which was for Prime Minister. And he ran for Prime Minister, and they said, no, you're not, it's not valid, because there are 3 positions, and they all have just 10-year terms. Prime Minister, President, and what's equivalent to our Speaker of the House. And so then he wanted to, so they have now elected the youngest, most progressive president, he came out and he said, thank you for your vote. Now I want to hear from you. What are your priorities? And some of the things that they've done are just phenomenal. And they are really progressive.
Thank you.
Hi, just an introduction. This is my first time here. My name is Emma, she, her, they pronouns. I've been in Greenfield for several years and just haven't made it over here yet. So glad to be here.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Martha Elliott. I've got 2 joys. My son's fiancée, Aliki, got accepted to graduate school in Sweden. So she's off. But she's got a great apartment. She's having fun. And my Aunt Caroline's 95th birthday is today.
Just want to appreciate how often Rocky is taking a knee for all of us. Kirsten, would you light a candle of sorrow for my old man who passed away several years ago at 92? We had a really distant and estranged relationship, and oddly, the one common ground was politics. And I think of him a lot during this contentious election, and I wish I had the chance to connect with him and talk with him about it. So that's for you, Pop. And would you please light a candle of joy for a woman who I don't think is recognized nearly as much as she could be. Her name is Dawn Marvin Ward. She does all kinds of programs at the Great Falls Discovery Center in Turners Falls, including this Friday night, bringing our own beloved Dan and Vern Bork and her husband, whose name is Bruce. And they did a marvelous concert, and it was a great joy to see Dan at the piano playing like Jerry Lee Lewis.
Hi, I'm Sandra.
I'd like you to light a candle of prayer for the citizens of Springfield, Ohio, both the Haitians and the community that invited them there, welcomed them, appreciates their presence, and is standing up for them. And I'd like you to light a candle of joy for me and my oldest son, who just recently began a dialogue online about our political differences. And he said in the letter, "Thank you, Mom, you're the only one in the family who's willing to talk to me about these things." And I'm practicing the practices of Braver Angels, which is an organization here in Greenfield that is mission is to depolarize America. And the bottom line is only ask questions. Don't make judgments, criticisms. Just ask questions and want to understand. And so that's what I'm doing with him. And I really want to thank him, too, for showing up in that way.
Hi, I'm Taylor. I wanted to do an introduction first time. I have a sorrow and a joy. Sorrow-wise, I have been part of the Hampshire College community for about 8 years now, and over the last 3, I've watched the current administration run it into the ground. I was recently let go, along with many of my colleagues, and now many of my other colleagues are leaving, and it seems like the school will not be around very much longer. And it's been very sad to see my colleagues get pushed out and to see students unable to have a real college experience there anymore. And a joy, the local Greenfield community that I've only been a part of now for about a year, that I'm a part of, recently was able to raise enough money for a Palestinian migrant who's in Greenfield now to get a vehicle so that they can go to and from their new job. So.
Morning, church. I'm Annie. Candle of Joy. I was privileged enough to go to the Shea Theater yesterday afternoon and hear a woman who she created a personality when she was at Sturbridge Village of a Native woman healer, medicine woman. Incredible. And she brought forward all of the herbs and the healing, and for years and years in the beginning it was women and herbs that were there before, and then the doctors tried to, anyway, she was there, and it was really informative. I love, that she stood for that and brought that forward for people to have a better understanding. So Molly, that's what she created. Her name was Molly, a woman healer with herbs. And a candle of challenge sorrow with my brother who's struggling with some health issues. And he's gone through some terrible things in his life and has always seen the light and been the light. He's been an incredible inspiration to me and people around him, and now he's suffering with some pain and some other challenges. So give a light to my brother, please. Thank you.
Hi, I would like to share my joy is this congregation and Dan's incredible words that just solidified the work that I've been doing to meet people where they are, regardless of whether I agree with them or not, because they're just as upset as I am, just not about the same thing. It doesn't make them a bad person. So thank you, Dan, for that, because it gave me a lot of joy coming in here today and hearing that I'm not alone in this, and I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same way. Thank you.
Well, you can light a whole lot of candles over there. I I had a great time in the hot tub this morning. Spent an hour in the pool swimming before coming over here to sing with the choir. And our son Max and his longtime girlfriend have decided to tie the knot Labor Day of next year. So that's Max was a little one in this church many years ago. So some of you know him. Thank you. Anybody else? Anyone online?
No.
Thank you. Spirit of community in which we share and find strength and common purpose. We turn our minds and hearts toward one another, seeking to hold in our hearts all our joys and sorrows, both spoken and unspoken. Let us open our minds and hearts to the place of quiet, to the silent prayer for the healing of pain and the soft, gentle coming of love. Amen. And do you have Prayer to Friends on the guitar, or shall I play it on the guitar? No, you should. Okay. We'll take this slowly. There, in your hymnal, you'll find this Prayer to Friends, right? Small print. The blessing of truth be upon us. The power of love direct us and sustain us. And may the peace of this community preserve our going out and our coming in, from this time forth until we meet again. Go in peace, create peace, be peace. Thank you. Oh, that's right.
Now for some fun. Nothing like an impromptu jam session. Jam away with us, guys.
Find myself in times of trouble. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be. Let it be, let it be, whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. Be parted. There is still a night that they can't see. There will be an answer. Let it be. 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 There will be an answer. Let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me, shines until tomorrow, let it be. Wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Whisper words of wisdom. Let it be. Everyone, and let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Whisper words of wisdom. Let it be.
Nice work.
Now for the interpretive dance part of our show. It's you. Naked.
So, before we break for coffee, we invite everybody to share announcements. And I'll start. I'm Kirsten. I'm the clerk of the board of, well, actually, I'm the clerk of the congregation. I serve on your board. And I just want to let you know that the board will be having a retreat at my house next Sunday afternoon. If any of you are interested